Okay, the subject that we are going to be learning tonight is one that the Moroccan Poskim spoke about, and it's a subject that is not hopefully it is never relevant in our day-to-day life, but it's interesting to know the halachot in Kiddushin, which is different mumin, different deficiencies that somebody marries a lady and he finds out that she has a mum. Is she allowed to get divorced? Is he allowed to get divorced? Or furthermore, he's allowed to say that, well, I never married this lady with the intention that she has this mum. So it's a Gemara in Masechet Ketubot. So first we're going to learn the Mishnah and the Gemara, and then we're going to learn more the what some of our poskim say on this. Okay, so it says in the Mishnah in Masechet Ketubot, Daf Ayin Bet Amud Bet, Kol Hamumin Haposlin Bakohanim Poslim Binashim. Any mumin, any deficiencies that make a kohen pasul serve in the Bet HaMikdash, they also make a lady pasul. That means if a lady has one of these mumin, the lady is. It could be that it was never a good kiddushin. An husband wouldn't even have to divorce his wife because in other words, it's a Mekah Taut. Obviously, we can't be posing these questions on our own, but there are certain mumin that everybody understands. They're subjective, that everybody would understand that they are mumin that are forbidden, and those are mumin of anything that are psul by kohanim, that kohanim can serve in the Bet HaMikdash. Okay, and it's also there's a list of them. But regarding us, the Mishnah in Daf Ayin He Amud Aleph says, Tana, there are three mumin that Hachamim added on to a lady, that even by a Kohen it's not a psul, but by a lady it is pasul. Tana, Ayin He Amud Aleph, in Masechet Ketubot, Hosifu alehen zea, veshuma, vereach hapeh. We added on a body odor, shuma is a mole, vereach hapeh, and bad breath. So if a woman has bad breath, so he could say it's a mum, and it's not a good kiddushin. So the Gemara discusses. We see that by kohanim, why it should also be a problem? The Gemara asks it should also be a problem. So the Gemara is a shakla v'tarya that we're not going to get into, but the Gemara says that by kohanim there's a solution. Efshar de nakat pilpula bepume. It's possible that he just shoves a little bit of pepper in his mouth. Ve'avid avoda, and he could do the avoda. Aval gabe ifshar lo ifshar. But by a lady, it's not possible to do that. Rashi says, by a lady, it's not possible to do that. He's speaking to her all the time. What? She's always going to be putting on mouthwash? It's not possible. So therefore, by a kohen, it's not pasul, but by a lady, it's pasul. The question is, nowadays, is there such a pasul? Because there are conditions nowadays that are considered bad breath. There are conditions today that are considered bad breath. So there was a similar question that I want to bring up that was asked by Hagaon Harav Yitzchak Zilberstein, was the Hatan of Rav Elyashiv, Zichrono Livracha, and he was asked that a case about a dentist. He had a lady who came to he had a Hatan who came to his office. He said, Mazal Tov, the Hatan says, what's your Kala's name? So the Kala's name, and he found out that the Kala is a lady that he treated, that when she was 12 or 13 years old, all her teeth fell out. She had a condition, so she wears dentures. So is he obligated to tell the Khatan that Al-Khatan didn't, he assumed that the Khatan didn't know that his future wife is teethless, and all she has is dentures? Is that a mum, or is that not a mum? So he asked Rav Elyashiv, he asked his father-in-law Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv says, we don't find that teeth are considered a mum by Bechorot, and we find that only these three things the Torah forbade, the Chachamim forbade, which is added on, which is body odor, a mole, and bad breath. But we find that they didn't add on anything else. So therefore, he says that. So therefore, the Rav Zilberstein says, in the name of Rabbi Yashiv, that it could be the person is not makpid on such a thing, especially if she's always wearing her dentures. So the dentist is not obligated to say, which is a big problem anyways, because there's a patient confidentiality. But the patient is not. The doctor does not have to reveal to the to the chatan that this is a deficiency. In truth, a dear friend of mine from Los Angeles, his name is Tzvika Reisman. He's a Talmid Chacham, as well as a businessman. He's a Kiddush Hashem. And he sent to me that one of the Gedolei HaMa'arav already discussed a similar question in Shelot Utshuvot Asher Li Shlomo, Rabbi Shlomo ben Dinan. He was the father of Rabbi Shauli ben Dinan. He was one of the great. They called him Amelech Shlomo from Fez. In Siman Samich Bet, he has a similar question. His question is that Reuven married a girl, and for 2 years he finds out that she has a lot of scabs on her head, and these scabs are totally the pus comes out and they smell, and he's not able to be married to her. So his question was, does he wants to send her off with no money? I mean, he might give her a get or whatever, but he wants to be patur from this wedding with no accountability whatsoever, because it's a Mekah Taut. So Rabbi Shlomo ben Dinan was asked such a question, and he brings that even though it's not one of the three things that the Chachamim was osif, he brings from many of the Poskim, the kol mum sheyesh bekpeda, and I'm reading his lashon, the kol mum sheyesh kpeda, any mum, any deficiency that there is that a person is makpid, av she'eno b'kohanim, even if we don't find that in kohanim there is such a mum, v'gam ena me'aminuyim b'gemara, and it's not written in the Gemara, kmo zera v'rach b'peh, afilu achi avimum, still called a mum. So according to him, also teeth, if it's a person would mind a lot, and I think that a lot of people would mind knowing such a thing, it's not anything worse than body odor, then it could be that this dentist would have to say something according to Rabbi Shlomo ben Dinan. Either way, whatever way we slice it, the Asher Shlomo has a very strong tzad to say that it is called a mum. And he says like this, Kefia minhag shenoagim, according to the minhag in Morocco, that marhitzin et hakala or leyom revi'i yom hachupa b'ma'amad krovat chatan v'kala, that they wash the kala in front of all of the relatives of the chatan and kala, the female relatives, I hope, and on Tuesday night, the night before the wedding, because they would always get married on Wednesday morning. That was the minhag. Rabbi Shalom Mesas writes that they would always get married on Wednesday morning. So that they would wash the kala at night. The nema, and so this person, he can't say afterwards Mekah Taut, because the badak al yedei krovotea, he already checked her through all of his relatives. So whatever is known, they told him already, and there's a hazakah that probably he was muhel. He probably forgave any mum that there was. If so, asks Rabbi Shlomo ben Dinan, in our case as well, this lady who got married, and she was checked out from, she went through the pit stop check, and all the ladies checked her out from beginning to end, and she's okay. So you can't say, why should you should not be able to say Mekach Taut. So Rabbi Shlomo ben Dinan says no. It's not true. Because en adam mitfayez b'mumim, because a person is not convinced. If he's makpid, he's makpid. And furthermore, So he says that at the end of the day he's makpid. I don't have the second reason in front of me, but he says that that's not a ta'ana. And he ends off that if a person does have that akbada of khatatin, so he's allowed to divorce her with no money. Now the truth is, on a real mum, even without a divorce, me'ikar adina would be allowed. But we're not noheg that. That's a very it's a very dangerous turf to go on, to be matir a lady without a get. On real mumin, to say it's a Mekah Taut, that only Gdolei Olam in very certain cases. When you're able to give a get, that she doesn't get her ketubah, that's something else. Okay, now, according to this is a fascinating question. How about getting back to the bad breath? Getting back to the bad breath question, just to elaborate a little bit more on this. What would be the halakha nowadays? A husband or his wife who has bad breath. So the truth is, on bad breath, there are two types of distinct bad breath. This is, I have the research over here. There's the chronic bad breath, which is an issue, and then there's bad breath that is not chronic and it's not permanent. Rather, the bad breath comes and goes. So, if we're talking about chronic bad breath, that's what the Gemara was talking about. But a lot of the bad breath is not because it's chronic; it's because there's a temporary issue. Where do we find that this is very relevant halacha lema'aseh? If a person is allowed to treat bad breath on Shabbat, for example, to use a Listerine mouthwash, is there mishum refuah b'Shabbat? So there seems to be an interesting stira in the Shulchan Aruch, because in Siman Shin Gimel, Maran writes in Siman Shin Gimel, that's about Hotza'ah, that a lady shouldn't put any pilpelin in her mouth, any pepper in her mouth on Shabbat, which the pepper removes the bad breath. Some people would say, on the contrary, it gives bad breath. But the Gemara is talking about that it removes the bad breath, and the reason being because the pepper is asur mishum shechikat samamanim. Let me get out the Mari Makom over here. In the Gemara, over here, Siman Shin Gimel Seif Tedvav Ubepilpel Vigargir Melech Bechol Shum Sheiten, when is not allowed. So the Mishnah Brura in Sifkatan Memtet says the reason why one is not allowed, the Bechol Refuah Gazru Mishum Shechikat Samanim Inami Mishum Demech Zikilu Ma'aremit Veotzi. According to the second answer, it's not because of Shechikat Samamanim, but it's because it's Marita Ain. It's Marita Ain. However, in Siman Shin Chavchet Seif Lamed Vav, it says explicitly that we don't chew mastiki, which is a type of gum, I guess, velo shafin el shinaim lerefuah, and we don't brush the teeth for refuah purposes. But in order to remove bad breath, one is allowed. So we see you're allowed to treat bad breath. So why in Siman Shin Gimel was it forbidden? So the answer is or lechatchila. Tila David says or lechatchila, or it was because of the other hashash the Mishnah Berurah brought down because it looks like marita ayin. But according to halacha, bad breath is not considered a refuah. And why? It could be we're talking about, there's the igleital that says it could be that we're talking about a temporary bad breath. But if it's going to be a chronic bad breath, that would be the issue. So too by a mum that a lady has, if it's a chronic bad breath, then it could be that there is grounds for divorce. And the same thing, and obviously if it's treatable, etc., it wouldn't be that way. But I think one chidush that we do see is that there's different mumin also, that the Chavat Yair has a very interesting teshuvah. Chavat Yair was one of the great geonim of one of the great geonei Ashkenaz, and he has a teshuvah. What happens if a person got engaged to a lady on the condition, he got engaged to a lady in Siman Rish Chaf, he got engaged to a lady, and there was a big dowry, he thought, and then he finds out that it wasn't such a big dowry. And his friends tell him, also, by the way, you should know, this lady has a very long nose. She has a nose the length of your pinky, which is pretty long. So is that called, could he be mevatel the shidduch and not have to pay any penalty fees? Because there are penalty fees when somebody, it's called savlonot, that somebody breaks the shidduchim by chachmei ma'arav. There was a big discussion, I don't know if we ever spoke about it in the shiur, about breaking shidduchim. There was penalties always imposed. And over here, if he says, well, her having a long nose is a mum. So the Chavat Yair was asked, and he says like this. The truth is, it's very interesting. He says, if by most people it's considered a weird nose, it's something that people say, hey, wow, she has a particularly long nose, that's called a mum, he says. Otherwise not. Now, even though it's not written, remember, even though this is not written in one of the three, it seems to be like the Asher Lishlomo says, that since it is something that most people mind, so that's grounds for being a mum. So that's another very interesting example. So we have so far teeth. We spoke about bad breath. We spoke about the Gemara speaks about chronic body odor, and now we're speaking about also bodily deficiencies, but it has to be something that most people laugh at, and obviously this wouldn't be normal in most cases, because in most cases the person he saw his kala beforehand and savar v'kibel and he accepted to marry her. It's about things that get revealed afterwards. And the same thing too, Maran says in Siman Kuf Nun Daled that a lady could force her husband to get divorced if he has bad breath, or if he has reach hachotem, or even from his nose, or he took a job as collecting dog manure, or he's tanning skins, which is a very smelly job, or maybe takes a job in the garbage company, the same thing, because she could say, well, I can't do it, and that's a legitimate claim. All of these are halacha lema'aseh. Nothing should be discussed more than that without the direct guidance from your local Orthodox rabbi. Hazaku Baruch.